Okay, welcome into my Invest Engine portfolio update for my stocks and shares ISA. We are in a brand new financial year now, so I'm going to jump straight into this one. We've got a jam-packed episode for you because I want to get through quite a lot now. I realize we're going to have quite a lot of new viewers probably who have either just started a new Invest Engine account or also are quite new to investing. So I'm going to go back and recap a lot of things. So if you are a regular viewer, feel free to kind of skip over that. But I'm going to go into a bit more detail now of what's actually in the account and some of my plans moving forward, because I'm going to make a couple of interesting changes, especially because we've got these new stocks and shares ISA rules, which have just come into place. But let me just jump in now and share my screen on my Investage account, and I'm going to walk through every single thing for us now. So let me just log in here. I'm going to just use the web platform because it's easier on my laptop here, but also, as you know, there is the Invest Engine app, which looks identical to this, which is really, really useful and interesting to use. One thing you might see if you're a regular viewer, you will see that my portfolio balance is a lot higher than it was in the last update. Now, that is because in the couple of days before the new financial year began, I did manage, thankfully, to maximize out my ISA allowance. I think I was short by about 20 or 30 pounds, so I didn't calculate exactly correctly. But anyway, I got all that money in and that got automatically invested, and I was quite pleased to manage to do that. Just for reference, I have multiple stocks and shares ISAs, but I don't actually use any other kinds of ISAs. I don't use a cash ISA. I don't use a lifetime ISA. I certainly don't use an innovative finance ISA, which is always hard to say when you want to say that one quickly. Anyway, let's have a look. Here we are now. So just want to recap a bit. If you're brand new to Invest Engine, here's how it kind of works. At the moment, they offer ISA accounts, they offer your basic general investing accounts, and they also offer self-invested personal pensions. I have all three of them, as you can imagine here. So you've got your ISA account, as you can see here. I've got a general account, and I've also got my personal pension down here. Inside each account is the kind of portfolios, what they call them. Everything here with these green lines here. As you can see, all my money is vested in what I've called my portfolio Toby's World, and we'll go into that one in a moment. I do have a couple of others that I share. This is more just to play around and give you a bit of demonstration, but I'll also go into those ones a bit later just to kind of show you how things work. So let me just go in here, and you will notice a little thing down here as well, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Now, if I just dive into the portfolio itself, we are greeted by this lovely little purple thing at the top right. So this financial year, I've decided over on my Vanguard account, as many of you might also watch, I have my main pension, my self-invested personal pension, and I also do have an ISA over there. And I thought, you know what? Firstly, I want to take advantage of this free cash offer. And also, I thought, you know what? I want to have my kind of index funds all in one place this financial year. So I initiated that transfer, and I expect that to be completed in hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So Invest Engine will inform Vanguard. Vanguard will sell down my investments, transfer that over as cash onto my Invest Engine platform, and then that cash will automatically just get invested into the account. So I'm looking forward to that one to come through. The ISA value over there was around £12,600, so that will really start boosting up this side of the portfolio and just makes things easier to manage. And also the fact that Invest Engine don't charge any fees for the DIY side of the ISA kind of is a bit of a no-brainer to me. Although Vanguard's a nice cheap platform, it is 0.15% in fees, and I thought, you know what? Why not? It's just so easy to do. So I'm quite excited, and hopefully by my next portfolio update, that should all have gone through. So that's exciting news. Now let's just go back here also and just reflect on how long I've been investing so far on Invest Engine itself. So I started this portfolio at the start of last financial year. I put in £5,000, and then after that, I've been putting in regular investments, exactly as I kind of preach and talk about on this channel all the time. So every single time you see these little black dots is where investments have gone in, and it's been automatically invested into my portfolio. Then the green line is the performance of the portfolio. Now, as you can imagine, the global stock market has had a pretty good run over the past year. So as you can see, it's pretty much always been in profit. And where we are sat now, we're up over 19% of just over a year, which is a great place to be. And as you know, if you look at kind of averages, when you talk about the global stock market, 19% over a year, it's a pretty good place to be. I know many of you are also in this position, so it's a great time to be an investor at the moment. Now, if I just scroll down here, you can see a couple of interesting things, and I am going to be making a small change here as well. So my portfolio, which I do share and you're welcome to go and have a look at, but please don't just copy it willy-nilly. Make sure you do your own research and figure out what works for you. But what I've basically done is kind of replicated a global index fund portfolio, a global passive portfolio. And by doing it myself and working my own little weights, I've really been able to reduce my cost to quite a low level. So in short, I pretty much have most parts of the world already allocated in their kind of correct weights, but there was one part of the world that I'd missed out. And as you can see here, Japan, which I've just changed my portfolio recently, has nothing in it. And it was an area of the world that I've missed out. So what I've decided I want to do is just make it reflect the world a bit more. So what does that actually mean? So a couple of things you can do here on Invest Engine. So if I go to the options tab here and I go to edit portfolio, you can change the weights or how much of your money and how much percentage of your money you want to put into each kind of ETF. So this is what I've kind of got to at the moment and what I'm about to rebalance, which I'll touch on in a moment. Now, I've got to these numbers because if you go and look at Vanguard's site, which I'm just going to jump over to now, VWRP, this is an all-world index fund. Now, by using an all-world index fund, I can look at roughly what the weights are, how much money should be in each part of the world right now, depending on how big the stock market is. So as you can see, North America now makes up nearly 65% of the market, whereas before it was closer to around 60%. Europe's doing pretty well, it's up 15.5%. The Pacific region is 10.5%, which will include Japan. Emerging markets are just 9.3%. Now, if you break those down further, you can have a look here at the market allocation. So you can see the US makes up that huge part of the equity market, always has. Will it do in the future? Who knows? Japan is the second biggest market, and then the UK is 3.5%, as you can see here. The UK has kind of been declining a little bit because that used to be over 4% at some point. Japan's done really well, had a bit of a comeback actually, which is a really good example to show you that trying to figure out what parts of the world are going to do well or not is very, very difficult indeed. And then as you can see, the rest of the countries in the world really make up very, very small fractions. But once you add them all together in their European regions and their Pacific regions, for example, they do have quite an impact. So I've kind of taken those, gone back over to my portfolio and thought, right, this is kind of how I want things to be. Now, what I'm going to do something called rebalancing. So if you go back to that options tab here and I click rebalance portfolio, now based on those weights I've just set, here's what would happen when I confirm this and get this one set in action. So it will actually buy me a bit more of the S&P 500 because it'll move from 60% to 64%. Japan will go from 0 to 5.9%, and it will sell down 3 of these investments. The FTSE 100 here at the bottom, I was slightly overweighted on, down from 6.6 to 4. Emerging markets will move from 14 to 10. Developed Europe will move from 19 to 16%. So I'm happy with that, so I want that to go ahead. Now that order's been sent, so I should see that changed over the next couple of days, and my portfolio will reflect that. So as you can see, I've now got pending orders based on that one. So quite exciting times. Now, another reason kind of why I do this, and really it's just it's a bit of a kind of a tinkering exercise. I really like the fact that you can do this and actually manage things yourself. But also have a look here. My portfolio total expense ratio is just 0.09% per year. So that is extremely cheap. There's very few global funds in the UK which will get anywhere near that. I think the cheapest is around 0.15%. The Vanguard's global fund is 0.22%. So this means that my fees for investing are extremely low. Also, don't forget that Invest Engine doesn't charge any fees on their DIY side of their stocks and shares ISA. So there's no platform fee or anything like that. They don't charge anything like that at all. The only fees on the Invest Engine side are for the self-invested personal pension, and if you want a managed portfolio inside of a stocks and shares ISA, for example. Another little feature I like, which I don't talk about a huge amount, is let's say if you are going to do a bit more of a kind of DIY thing here and put different ETFs together, and then you might think, oh, how does it actually look in total, or where's my money? If you go to the analytics tab here, I don't actually spend a lot of time here, but I realize it's actually really, really interesting. Based on your entire portfolio, you can now go through and have a look and see where your money's invested. And it will actually tell you, in pound figures, where your money's invested, where it actually is invested in, and what your target weights are, which is really, really interesting to me. And not only can you just go down by regions, but you can have a look through the different sectors. And most interesting for me is probably the holding section. So across all of those ETFs that I've got invested here, you can see that's 3,471 real companies. And I think often we can forget that when we're investing in an ETF or a mutual fund, we can often forget that these are real companies at stake, and you have real money in real companies. And then now you can look here, you can see, in Microsoft itself, whether you own separate Microsoft shares, inside your ETF, I own nearly £1,000 worth of Microsoft, which is pretty cool. Apple, nearly 750, Nvidia, Amazon, etc., as you go down the list. And it's easy to forget that in an ETF, it's quite abstract, if that makes sense. So this is really cool. And it's no surprise that basically I own the largest companies in the world by their market weight, because that is exactly what I want to do as a passive index fund investor. I've done loads of videos on my channel kind of going through passive versus active and kind of my thoughts and feelings on that and kind of what history tells us on that. But I really do like this feature. So don't forget to have a look through your portfolio if you've been making changes, and just see if it lines up with what you want to do. For me personally, I wanted it to line up with pretty much the world. So again, if I go back over to that VWRP Vanguard page and I go down to the companies, guess what I'm going to see? Pretty much exactly the same. Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, Facebook, Alphabet, etc. All pretty much in the right order. So that's the ISA now ticking away nicely. My plan will continue this year in terms of how I want to invest. So I want £1,000 to go in every single month to my Invest Engine account, 800 of which is set up to go into Toby's world, as you can see on screen now. And then £200, if I scroll down now, will be going into my self-invested personal pension. As you can see here, we've had a couple of months worth of money go into the account, and that automatically has been reinvested. What I've done here on my SIP is I've kept this one even simpler. I've made this simple on purpose because I don't want to have any kind of inkling to just touch it. I just really want to just leave this one and set and forget. So I have chosen VWRP, which I was speaking about earlier, a single, nice, simple global index fund. Now, one thing with a SIP, don't forget, is you do get that top up and that kind of tax relief from the government. So if I just click on the cash icon here, I can see I'm pending now from HMRC £150 worth of top up. If I click on the information thing here, it will tell me that roughly it will take about 6 to 11 weeks for that money to go in. Once that money does go into the account, it will get automatically invested, which is quite nice. But every time you put money into your SIP, and you can put up to £60,000, don't forget, inside your SIP across all of your pensions, don't forget. And this includes tax relief as well. But you can put an enormous amount per year, and you can even go back through multiple years too. There's loads of little details, obviously. I'm not your financial advisor, but speak to an accountant, for example, if you do need kind of help on that one. But you can go back through multiple years and put quite a lot of money inside a pension in the UK. It's one of the great tax wrappers, I think, actually, that are kind of fairly misunderstood. And I think it's a good balance to have a bit of an ISA and a bit of a SIP for myself. The flexibility of the ISA is great. The pension, don't forget, you can't take out until 58 at the moment, but that'll probably be rising later on as we go through the years. Anyway, that's going to be quite interesting to see that one develop. And it's really good to see now to have that all in one platform. I personally really, really like that. Don't forget that with the SIP, there are fees. Just go through the account fees, etc., to make sure you're happy with that. I've plonked a little bit of cash in there just to make sure I cover those fees as well. And what's interesting in a SIP actually as well is the cash, even in the basic side, that's not invested also gets tax relief. So any money you put into your pension gets tax relief. So anyway, there's where we are now at the moment. And it's really nice actually to see that kind of year and how we talk often about just dollar cost averaging or pound cost averaging, whatever we're going to call it, and just investing regularly. I do not look at the price of the stock market. I just invest every single month without fail, as I talk about very often on the channel. It's something very easy to talk about, but often very, very difficult to do in practice. We're bombarded with all the news about stock market crashes, about hypes, about the AI stock revolution or whatever you want to call it, and different stocks propping up the stock market. All of that, in my view, is just short-term noise if you are a long-term investor. And that's the key caveat from my perspective. As a long-term investor, I just want to get it all in, make it robotic, make it simple. And certainly this platform makes things easy. Anyway, that's pretty much my platform wrapped up. Any questions or anything else, do let me know in the comment section below. I think we're going to get a lot of newer people who are trying to figure out what to invest in and how all this works. So very much get yourself in the comment section below. We've got lots of really good people who actually help each other out. So you know who you are if you do help each other out in the comment section. And I really do appreciate that one. So do have a look there. And again, if you want to get yourself started, all the links are in the description of the video. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, happy investing.